We're glad to have you back. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says it recorded a profit of 2.54 trillion naira in 2022. The National Oil Company, in its 2022 financial performance report, described the profit as the highest since its inception in 1977. Financial report stated that it recorded a loss of 803 billion naira in 2018, 1.7 billion naira loss in 2019, but recorded 287 billion profit in 2020. And 674.1 billion naira in 2021. The report stated that the profit continued to grow, rising to 2.54 trillion naira in 2022. Let's understand this more. And I'm being joined by an energy lawyer, an analyst, Dr. Ayodele Oni. Good afternoon, and it's really good to have you on the program, Dr. Oni.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. We already said compliments behind camera, but let's say it to ourselves again. Happy New Year to you, Doc.
Yeah, same here. Wish you same.
All right, then. Well, 2.5 trillion naira is a lot of money. Looking at what has been happening with NNPC that we've known with issues about loss, we see some money is being sent to some parts or some agencies under the NNPC. No production anywhere. Billions of naira being spent by the months, by the years. What do you make of this recent report?
Well, I think it's controversial because, I mean, a lot of people have said all sorts. Some people are surprised. Some people are wondering what's happening. Some people also say there's no data to compare current results with because its financials have not been made public over time. So there's nothing to compare with. But generally speaking, if it is what you said it is, then it's relatively good news because it means more income, more revenue for the federation. That's what I make of it in the immediate.
What do we do of those unproductive segments of the NNPCL?
Well, for me, I think those should be hived off the NNPCL and sold. Those that are productive, I think gas will play a major role in the next few years, and I think crude oil continues to be important. I think those areas, and of course, there's new energy. Those areas, and I think gas to an extent may be in between, may be intermediate. So gas, some form of renewables, and the crude. For those that are not productive, I think if it's sold to someone else who can better manage it, then that may make more sense.
What is it? There's a lot of work being done with regards to addressing this ugly trend, crude oil theft. Looking at our budget, and we are looking at 1.7 million barrels per day. Some say this looks like a tall order. With the current situation, do you see us getting to that point this year?
Well, I think we can. I think in 2022, which they speak of, I think the data I did see suggests that we did an average of 1.5 million barrels daily. So if we've done that in the past, it then means we should be able to do it. All things working together, all of the efforts being put to it working. And I think government should continue to work with indigenous peoples, continue to work with the indigenous of those areas, the host communities. If they have skin in the game, like they currently seem to do under the PIA, the trust arrangement recommended by or prescribed by the Petroleum Industry Act, then we may see reasonable progress. And the military, the Navy is doing quite a bit too. I understand over 200 illegal refiners have been shut down. Maybe what government can do, apart from shutting some of these down, is to find a few of them that do make some sense and then support them. Maybe license them, maybe train them better, because it's also an opportunity or an avenue to provide jobs, right? You know, say for, of course, issues around bunkering, illegal bunkering, and taking crude illegally to refine. Those may then be the challenges. Outside of those, I think that there's another opportunity there. So I think we can actually do 1.7.
Our refineries, the Dangote refinery, I think, has received the 6th shipment, and we expect production to commence very soon. Same Port Harcourt refinery, according to the NNPCL, they say the mechanization aspect of it has been completed. Dr. Oni, we've been talking about this for some time, about refining capacity of Nigeria, improving it. and what it means for us. So it's a two-in-one question really for you. What do you make of those refineries when they become fully functional? What impact will they have on the market, in the market space? That should be one. And on the other part of it is that what do you think about government's part ownership and all of that? I'm talking about Dangote refinery now. How do you see Nigerians benefiting really from this local refining?
Okay, one thing I see first is security of energy supply to a large extent. Because recall, every now and then we had fuel scarcity at the pump. And part of the reasons was logistics, bringing in the finished products. It wasn't all the time around pricing. More often than not, there were issues around logistics, being able to bring it in. But if you refine locally, it then solves or reduces the incidence of logistics, international shipping logistics being a problem, and the vagaries of the international market also being a problem. Once the crude is available, you can't refine sufficiently locally, and at some point you become a net exporter. It then does make a lot of sense in terms of keep creating jobs, the multiplier effect on your economy, keeping some of your USD within the country or within businesses set up in that country. But in terms of price reduction, it's going to be very minimal, if any, because crude is an international commodity. If the price is high, refining means you're adding value to that crude. So there's no way the refined product will be cheaper than the crude, the base product. That's why we do the analogy that if you make $1 billion from crude, sell and then buy refined products, you'll be buying it more expensive, right? And you'll be at a deficit. So if you keep all of that within the country, prices may drop slightly, but nothing substantial. But it guarantees security of supply, you are sure. And the multiplier effect around the economy, around reducing. For example, I think I was looking at statistics, and we did close to 2 trillion naira importing petroleum products in Q3 last year, for example. So if we did do that, imagine that we didn't spend that money just bringing in petroleum products and used for other things, or remained in the economy, and more people could be employed, and multiplier jobs, multiplier effect. I think that's what I see as a nation so answering your two-in-one question, I think that's what we will achieve more than anything else.
Well, before now, we didn't used to even get any report from the NNPC. I think for more than 40-something years, we didn't used to get any financial report from the National Oil Company. So some will say, now that we're even getting something, we can make do of it. But if you speak around that, what do you expect moving forward from the NNPCL, particularly at this time where it has become a limited liability company, right? That is now running, not like before that it just used to be committed to government. Now it's a company that must make profit.
Okay. Yes. So I think that if it's well run, corporate governance is crucial, ensuring that, and I think the current management isn't doing badly. We see reports, and those are even obligations under the Companies and Allied Matters Act. They just need to ensure that they comply with the law. They ensure that, and the politicians too need to reduce political influence or ensure that where there is some political influence, because more often than not, where it's a government-owned company, you cannot completely rule out. The best people are in those positions, particularly in those sensitive positions. That's what we guarantee, that the company continues to run profitably rather, and continues to fulfill its obligations under the law and to stakeholders. The government does own it. I think it's the Ministry of Finance Incorporated and Ministry of Petroleum Incorporated also, if I'm not mistaken. So those continue to hold the shares on behalf of the government. If it's profitable and there's dividends, like in NLNG, everyone is happy. It's now a different conversation about what's done with that money. But they need to ensure that the right people are there. They need to ensure that they move with times. Everyone's talking renewables now, gas, and we got brilliant policies. The issue always is implementation. the decade of gas is something that is also crucial. NNPC should be the forefront of implementation of many of these policies and be like an Aramco. The many national oil companies are doing pretty well. They can't borrow a leaf from those companies. And one of those things they do is being creative, letting the best people be in the best position. And with subsidy out, I mean, I don't personally think subsidy is not being paid at the moment. I just think it's a much lesser percentage than what it was before. Because if there wasn't subsidy, prices would probably be about 1,200 naira per liter. So with subsidy off, it then means that the NNPC can concentrate on being a commercial entity within the confines of the law.
I've brought up a very controversial issue here, and that's the issue of the pricing. That because this argument came up sometime last week, where marketers were saying the actual price of PMS should be around 1,000 and 1,200. So this differentials remains an issue. And what could be responsible for this? Is it the forex difference and all of these challenges we face? Because we don't expect it to get to that point. Nigerians wouldn't like to hear that at the moment.
Okay, I think it's primarily forex. Okay, I'll give you a simple example. If oil prices never move at the pump, let's say it's $1 flat out. 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 1 year ago, that's like 400 naira, 600 naira per liter. But because the value of the naira has dipped, it's now about 1,300. It then means that what was 600 or 400 naira is now 1,000 plus. Although that price hasn't changed from $1. $1 used to be 600, now it's 1,002. So it's around the currency more than anything else, you know. So that's where the challenge is. And I agree with the marketers that the actual price will be in the 1,000 naira range if it was left to the market to determine. Market forces.
Real market forces. Oil prices is also on the rise, and some say it's because of the tensions in the Middle East. What would you say around this?
Oh, oil is sensitive. It's a sensitive commodity, and prices are influenced by information. Once there's even a rumor, as little as a rumor, prices dip or prices go up. So once you hear of any crisis, particularly in a region where oil production happens, it means that the volumes are going to be affected. And once people believe the volumes are going to be affected either immediately or in the very near future, it then impacts pricing. It's sensitive. So sensitivity around information, sensitivity around happenings always affect the oil price. So I'm not surprised that when you hear anything happening in those regions, even if something were to happen in Nigeria and that means that we won't be able to produce or something, it will impact the price. Or speak much less of places like Saudi Arabia, it will reasonably impact prices. So yes, I'm not surprised because information does impact oil prices.
So moving forward, what do you think would happen in that market this year? OPEC plus, all of the politics that has been happening in that space. How does it impact Nigeria? And of course, the globe. Not just Nigeria now, the globe too. What do you expect?
Globally, I think 1 or 2 other countries will pull out of OPEC. But for me, I think it may be a problem in the long run because the oil prices will be left entirely to market forces. May be good or bad for us as a country in the long run because if oil prices go down, everyone then becomes competitive. People begin to look for cheaper sources of fuel, and that might even be the beginning of the end of oil and more around renewables and gas. So we need to tread carefully. We need to cut deals and be sure that our staying in OPEC makes sense for us in the short to medium term. We need to do more around gas, and I think we will do more around gas. I understand that there's a gas substitution policy going on where gas products are, say, 30% cheaper than crude than liquid petroleum products. So government is going to gradually do more around gas. More people are going to look at gas in the next year or so, and I expect that we should be close to meeting our quota, if not meeting it and even surpassing it. I expect that to be the case this year. I think that this government is quite serious on many fronts in terms of getting things done. I expect that in terms of production and some of those challenges we've had with oil production, some of them we would make a lot of gains. Also because there's a lot of cooperation between the government and the private sector. So I think we would exceed the benchmark in the budget. And I think that, I mean, inflation, because especially where the currency isn't controlled and we don't generate sufficient USD, the dollar may continue to go up. Maybe it may then be later controlled. Or that's what I expect will be the case. And maybe substantially improved energy security in Nigeria. Fuel queues, hopefully by Q2 this year, will be a thing of the past. That's my expectation.
Interesting market. Interesting things to watch out for this year. Let's talk about gas before we go. What is playing out around that space? All this time we're looking at CNG powered vehicles and all of that. Do you see government making a headway around that end too?
Okay, so it's not so much about government. Yes, it's about government policy, but it's about
government and private sector now.
Private sector. Yes, attracting the private sector. Yeah. You know, government will issue the policies. Yeah. Government should walk the talk. Now, when government does make policies, ensure that it's not something you only have on paper. Ensure implementation isn't a problem. And you see the private sector come on. You know, the gas market wasn't what it is today. It's much improved. There are more players. See the Optimera gas project in the Lagos Free Zone, and I'm sure a few other guys will be looking at the same thing. You know, the fact that it's more thermal efficient and cheaper overall, it's positive. That's a positive for the country, and that's a positive. The NLNG, for example, is a model. So imagine having many mini, micro LNG sort of arrangements. Once the policy is there, and one thing that did help was government policy, the 1999 law, the NLNG 1998-1999 law that said for 10 years they wouldn't pay taxes and all of that. So if you have sufficient incentives, government needs to play a role in building the backbone infrastructure for gas, while everybody else tees off that. You know, everyone connects to it and improves and takes it to the next level. Both pipeline gas and virtual pipeline systems, all of those, having a gas exchange, those are things that make doing that business attractive. Having swaps, having those sort of derivative arrangements for gas, you know, those will make it more sophisticated and more interesting, and you see more people investing and playing in that market.
Interesting stuff. I must thank you so much, Dr. Ayodele, for joining us on the program as usual. We appreciate your time. Energy analyst and lawyer. Do enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much for having me.